Immediately after that, the authorities, not just from Malaysia, but from over 40 countries, they teamed up together and they started looking for that plane. Where did it go? How did it disappear? So there were aircrafts involved in the search. There were many ships involved in that search. There were many naval forces involved in that search. There were many countries' air forces involved in that search. That search continued. So for the first few months, there was an extensive search to find the remains of the plane. After some time, they realized that it is not possible for that plane to remain hidden for that long. That means it has crashed somewhere, it has disappeared, and now we just have to find the remains of the plane, the debris of the plane, and the remains of the people who were traveling on board that flight. So for the first few months, there was an extensive search, and then slowly, because it was so exhaustive, and then slowly, they started giving hope. They started giving up hope. So the year went by, and then another year went by, and now, almost 3 years later, they have officially given up. This is what happens when you're searching for something and you do the best of your ability, your strength, your power, and still there are no results. It is only natural for us as human beings to give up. But Yaqub alayhi salam is giving a very important lesson to his children, that, oh my children, go and search for Yusuf and his brother Binyamin, and do not give up hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا تيأسوا من روح الله. So it is only natural for us to give up hope, but the lesson for us is that to not give up that hope. إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Because the truth is that, the reality is that only the disbelievers, only the kuffar are the ones who will give up hope in the soothing mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a believer, as a Muslim, as a mu'min, you should never give up hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هذه من أهم نقاط وعظ يعقوب عليه السلام لبنيه. قال لهم لا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. لأن الياس هو فقدان الهمة. عندما يئس الرجل، عندما يئس المرأة، يئس من الله سبحانه وتعالى. واليأس من الله سبحانه وتعالى هي توازن الكفر، تماثل الكفر. لهذه الوجه قال يعقوب عليه السلام لبنيه لا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. فلما دخلوا عليه قالوا يا أيها العزيز مسنا وأهلنا الضر وجئنا ببضاعة مزجاة فأوف لنا الكيل وتصدق علينا إن الله يجزي المتصدقين. So after getting the advice from their father, these 9 brothers, now they started their journey back to Egypt. This was their third journey. The very first journey is mentioned in the very beginning, very first page of this juz. The very first time they went to Egypt. Then the second time they went to Egypt. So the first time they went to Egypt, do you remember anything from that? When the first time they went to Egypt, what is the most significant thing that can identify their first journey?
He gave them back their goods.
Huh? No. The very first time when they went, they did not have Binyamin.
Yes, right.
So the first time they went, they did not take Binyamin because Yaqub alayhi salam would not let Binyamin go. The second time they went, they took Binyamin and they lost Binyamin. Binyamin was kept by Yusuf alayhi salam. So the first journey, it was the 10 brothers. and Binyamin did not go. The second journey, 11 brothers, or 11 of them, they went. And they went to get more. They were hoping to get more from Yusuf alayhi salam, and they had the money to pay for that as well. And they had even more money because the money that they used for the first time, Yusuf alayhi salam had already returned that money. He already returned the money that they paid for the goods the first time. So Yusuf alayhi salam returned that money. So the second time when they went, 11 of them went. So there were two reasons why they got more loads of food back. First, because all 11 of them went. So they got 11 camel loads. And then they got extra because they had more money that they got as a gift from Yusuf alayhi salam, which he returned from the first trip. So that was the second trip. Now this is the third journey of the brothers to the land of Egypt. Now how many are going? Now 9 of them are going because 3 of them are already in Egypt. The oldest one was left in Egypt. He did not come back himself. That was his decision. And Yusuf alayhi salam was already in Egypt. He was gone from them many decades ago. And Binyamin was kept as the punishment for what he allegedly did. So now 3 of them were already in Egypt, and 9 of the brothers, now they're going back to Egypt. At this time, they don't have money. This time they're really suffering from the shortage of food, from the shortage of money, from the shortage of supplies. So at this time they're really in bad condition. Financially they're in bad condition, physically they're in bad condition, and spiritually, in the sense that their spirits are not high anymore. They've lost their brother Binyamin, and their older brother decided to stay back. So they have lost they have been reduced in number, they have been reduced financially, they have been reduced physically. So from every side, they are in bad condition. So in all of this, they come back to Egypt. فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ, when they come to visit Yusuf alayhi salam, قَالُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الْعَزِيزِ. Now they're addressing Yusuf alayhi salam as Aziz. They're saying, "Oh Aziz," because that was his official title. "Oh Aziz, مَسَّنَا وَأَهْلَنَا الضُّرُّ." Very bad condition has touched our family and us. So we are suffering at this moment. وَجِئْنَا بِبِضَاعَةٍ مُزْجَاةٍ. And we have come with very little money. Whatever we have brought to give you in return for the food, in return for the grain, is very, very small in value. According to the narrations of Tafsir, what they brought were the pots and pans from their home. That's how bad their financial condition was. Now this should send an alarm to all of us in really understanding the condition of the life of a prophet of Allah. Financially, Yaqub alayhi salam was a prophet of Allah. His father Ishaq alayhi salam was a prophet of Allah. His grandfather Ibrahim alayhi salam was a prophet of Allah. But in this time, their whole family is suffering so much that they have lost all the money, they have lost all the grain, all the food, whatever was there, it's all gone. And now they're forced to sell the pots and pans of their home. وَجِئْنَا بِبِضَاعَةٍ مُزْجَاةٍ. And we have come with very insignificant value to give in trade, in exchange for the grain that we have come to take from you. Now, can we say that there was no barakah in the house of Yaqub alayhi salam? Can we say that? No. It is not possible that the barakah is taken away from the house of a prophet of Allah, and a prophet of Allah, the like of Yaqub alayhi salam, who basically got the first-hand training from Ishaq alayhi salam, from Ismail alayhi salam, and from Ibrahim alayhi salam. It is not possible that they did not have barakah in their home. But there were some other things going on in the grand scheme of things that Allah had planned. It was part of the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in this plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was Yaqub alayhi salam who was suffering. It was the family of Yaqub alayhi salam who were suffering. فَأَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلَ وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا. So these brothers, they're literally begging Yusuf alayhi salam, they're literally begging this officer who is the top officer in Egypt. They're asking him, أَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلَ. Please give us whatever we deserve in return for what we are giving you. وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا. And please be generous and give us charity. They're so poor at this moment that they're asking Yusuf alayhi salam to give charity to them, give sadaqah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَجْزِي الْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ. And then they said, because Allah will give reward to those who give charity. So if you give us charity, Allah will give you a lot of reward. And this, seeing the condition of his brothers, hearing about the condition of his father, his family, and knowing what they are doing and what they're going through, the suffering that they're going through, and then literally seeing them begging him for money, for food, begging him for help, begging him for sadaqah. The scholars say it brought tears into the eyes of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he could not hold it anymore. So he broke. He said, قال هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون. Do you know what you did to your brother Yusuf, to Yusuf and his brother while you were ignorant, when you were ignorant? You did not know better. You became victim of the plot of shaitan, and so you fell into the trap of shaitan. So do you remember what you did to Yusuf and his brother? At that time, they realized this can't be happening. So all of a sudden, they all said, قَالُوا أَإِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ يُوسُف. Are you really Yusuf? They could not believe themselves. They could not believe their eyes. They could not believe in all of that is happening. So they immediately asked Yusuf alayhi salam to reaffirm, are you Yusuf? And Yusuf alayhi salam responds, قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي. Yes, I am Yusuf and this is my brother Binyamin. قد من الله علينا. Allah bestowed His favor upon us. Allah conferred His favor upon us. أحسن الله إلينا. من الله علينا. And then Yusuf alayhi salam said, إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. And then he's giving now a very important advice to his brothers. He said, yes, Allah has been so kind to me and to my brother. He gave all of this to us. Look, remember, you threw me in the well and you deserted me. You tried to kill me. You abandoned me. And then I was taken up by the slave traders and I was sold in Egypt. And then Allah gave me all of this that you see today. How and why? Because I had taqwa and I had sabr. Two things. I was conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what pleases Allah and what displeases Allah, and I had patience. Everything that I went through, I was patient. The years that I spent in the prison, I was patient. The time that I spent in the well, I was patient. The time that when I was sold in the market of Egypt, I was patient. The time that I spent in the house of my master, I was patient. All of this time, I did not complain to anyone. And I did not even complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I was patient. I was trying to remain mindful of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the pleasures and the displeasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So taqwa and sabr. At-taqwa was sabr. ها هنا هما من أعمال القلب. الصبر من عمل القلب أصلا. والتقوى أيضا من عمل القلب خالصة. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم التقوى ها هنا ويشير إلى صدره. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, taqwa is here. And he was pointing towards his heart here. Taqwa is not in your hands. Taqwa is not in your face. Taqwa is not in your pocket. Taqwa is in your heart. And sabr is also aslan. Sabr is also originally from your heart. If your heart is patient, your body will adopt that patience and will manifest that patience. But if your heart is impatient, then that impatience will be reflected in your body, will be reflected from your body. So Yusuf alayhi salam, at this moment when his brothers are really in this moment learning the most important lesson of their life, he's telling them that again, do not worry, do not distress, do not lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not give up hope in Allah, because anyone who will have taqwa and who will remain patient, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, then Allah will not allow the reward of those who do good to be lost. The reward of those who do good will always be restored and will be returned to them. It will never be lost by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then all of them, they said, قَالُوا تَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. We swear by Allah that indeed Allah has preferred you above us. He made you His prophet. He made you like a king. He gave you everything. And us, Allah did not give us all of that. So truly, Allah has given you preference. And that's fine. It is Allah's judgment. It is Allah's decision to give preference to someone over the other. That's fine. تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. And then he said, yes, we were wrong. We made a mistake. And all of a sudden, Yusuf alayhi salam, his heart has already melted for his brothers in mercy. He's also already showing that mercy and tears and all of that. And then all of a sudden he said, لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. Today there will be no retribution upon you. I will not take any revenge from you. Al-intiqam wa tathrib. So there's a very similar part of this story of Yusuf alayhi salam with the story of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam suffered a lot at the hands of the mushrikeen of Makkah. The pagans of Arabia, the pagans of Makkah, they tortured him a lot. They caused him all kinds of pain, all kinds of suffering in his life in Makkah. So much so that he had to flee Makkah. He left Makkah. And then finally, 8 years later, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned to Makkah, he was victorious. He was triumphant. There was no one in his path. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was standing holding the door of Kaaba. كان يلاصق بباب الكعبة وكان يقول ما تظنون بأخيكم. What do you think about your brother? He was talking about himself. What do you think what I will do to you? وعندما قدرت عليكم. What do you think I will do to you? Now I have control over you. Now I have conquered the city. Now I have taken control of the city. And I have all the power in my hands. What will I do to you? They said, Anta akhuna wa akhun karimun. You are the noble brother. And you will only do good to us. بعد أن قدرت. بعد أن قدرت علينا. And at that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أقول ما قال أخي يوسف لإخواني. I will say the same what my brother Yusuf said to his brothers. لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. Today there will be no retribution upon you, no revenge from you. From all the things that you did to us, we forget about all of those. And Yusuf alayhi salam did forget about all of those. And interestingly, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, when I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say these words, I was so embarrassed in my heart. And I was so embarrassed by hearing that. Not because the word I did not believe in the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he said, right before the Prophet ﷺ said those words, I was going around the city of Makkah and I was saying, Al-yawma nantaqimu minkum. Al-yawma nantaqimu minkum. Al-yawm. Another companion of the Prophet ﷺ was saying, Al-yawma yawmul malhama. Today there will be bloodshed. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, La, la, la. Al-yawma yawmul marhama. Today is the day of mercy. So Umar radiallahu anh said, when I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm, I was so embarrassed in myself that look, I was going around telling people, Al-yawma nantaqimu minkum. Today we will take revenge from you. Today we will do all what you did to us. And here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. There is no retribution. There is no revenge. Nothing. All of that is forgotten. Yaghfirullahu lakum. May Allah forgive all of you. Wa huwa arhamur rahimin. And He is the most merciful. Shaykh Ata al-Khurasani rahmatullahi alayhi, he said that it is easier to get something done by the young people as opposed to the old people. قال العطاء الخراساني رحمه الله أحد التابعين قال طلب الحوائج أو طلب الحاجات أسهل من الشبان من الشيوخ. لماذا؟ فتلا هذه الآية قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. So the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they showed their repentance and they showed that they are regretful of what they have done, and they asked their brother to forgive them. And Yusuf alayhi salam immediately prayed to Allah, Allah forgive them. Yaghfirullahu lakum. May Allah forgive you. In a few verses down, you will see that when these brothers, they went back to Canaan, to the homeland of their ancestors, to Yaqub alayhi salam, they told the same thing to their father. Ya abana istighfar lana dhunubana inna kunna khati'in. Oh, our father, seek forgiveness from us. We were wrong. We made a mistake. And their father did not say, may Allah forgive you. He said, Sawfa astaghfiru lakum rabbi. I shall soon seek forgiveness from you from my Lord. So Ata al-Khurasani rahmatullahi said that young people, they forget easily. They forget easily and they can forgive easily. But older people, when they have developed some grudge against somebody or some bad feelings against somebody, it's not easy for them to forgive right away. So Yaqub alayhi salam, when his sons came to him and they said, oh, our father, we were wrong, we made mistakes, please ask Allah to forgive us, please forgive us. He did not say, I will forgive you. He said, I will ask for forgiveness later. سوف أستغفر لكم ربي إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أبي يأتي بصيرا وأتوني بأهلكم أجمعين. Then Yusuf alayhi salam, he had a shirt. He pulled out that shirt and he said, my brothers, take this shirt of mine and put it on the face of my father, because their father had become blind. He used to cry a lot, so he became blind. قد ذهب بصره في غم فراق يوسف عليه السلام. فعندما أرسل إخوانه إلى أبيه قال لهم اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أبي يأتي بصيرا. Go and put this shirt on the face of my father, and he will recover his eyesight. He will start seeing again. وَأْتُونِي بِأَهْلِكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ, and bring all of your family to me. So what was so special about this shirt? That this shirt was able to bring back the eyesight of Yaqub alayhi salam. Does that mean that Yusuf alayhi salam had more closeness to Allah than Yaqub alayhi salam? That's not true. Yaqub alayhi salam was the father, and he was obviously more senior, older, and he was probably closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than Yusuf alayhi salam. So how come Yusuf alayhi salam made that claim that if you take this shirt home and put it on the face of my father, he will start seeing again? So the reason the scholars say is that because this shirt was a very special shirt. This shirt was the same shirt that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent with Jibreel alayhi salam from heaven, from Jannah. When Namrud threw Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire, حينما ألقى إبراهيم عليه السلام في النار. At that time, there were no clothes on Ibrahim alayhi salam. They removed the clothes of Ibrahim alayhi salam and then threw him in the fire. So when he went into the fire, there were no clothes on him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam with this shirt, and that shirt was placed on him in that time. So this shirt came from Jannah. It was made in Jannah. And it was given to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam gave that shirt to Ishaq alayhi salam. Ishaq alayhi salam gave that shirt to Yaqub alayhi salam. And Yaqub alayhi salam gave that shirt to Yusuf alayhi salam. So Yusuf alayhi salam was a very little boy at that time when he gave it. So he was afraid that he would lose it. So what Yaqub alayhi salam did, he put that shirt in a small bottle and put it around the neck of Yusuf alayhi salam. So it was always in that little bottle around the neck of Yusuf alayhi salam. Then he preserved it as he grew older. Now he was sending that same shirt back. So one of the qualities of this shirt was, one of the powers of this shirt was, this shirt came from Jannah. And you know, in Jannah there will be no one blind. There will be no one sick. So one of the powers of this shirt was, if this shirt was placed on the body of someone, if they were sick, they would become healed. If something was wrong with them, they would become cured. And if this shirt was placed on a blind person, the blind person would start seeing again. That's what they knew from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why this was the only one shirt in dunya. In this entire world, there was only one shirt from Jannah. And that was with Yusuf alayhi salam. So he sent his shirt to his father Yaqub alayhi salam. And when they would put his shirt on his face, Yaqub alayhi salam would begin seeing again. And then he said, now go back and then bring everyone here to Egypt. Why? Yusuf alayhi salam did not want to go back to Canaan because in Egypt he was enjoying everything. He was in the most powerful position in Egypt. He had the control over everything. He had all the power. He was respected by all. So instead of him demoting himself and going to Canaan, he said, why don't you bring everybody here to Egypt, and you will live as part of the royal family, as part of my family. So he said, bring everyone here, all of them from Canaan. So you know how many were there at that time? So these brothers, they got married as well. So there were 12 brothers. Binyamin and Yusuf alayhi salam were from one mother, and then 10 were from the other mother. So there were 12 of them. And 12 of them got married, and they had their own children. So Yusuf alayhi salam was already settled in Egypt. So 11 of them, their families were back home in Canaan. So their families, all of them put together, there were 93 members. So Yusuf alayhi salam brought all the 93 to Egypt. So they migrated from Canaan, they came to Egypt, and they settled in Egypt. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. There's just few more verses left, inshallah, but we will cover that next week. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Any questions? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن يميننا وعن شمالنا ومن فوقنا وأن نغتال من تحتنا. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا ونبيا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.